Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services, if we can please kindly turn off all cell phones or electronic devices, or please place them on silent. Thank you.
Ma'ayan HaChaim, wellspring of life. We come together sharing our sorrow to commemorate the life of Leonard Nash. We recall the blessing of his life. We thank God for all that is good and true in his life, and for the precious memories which shall endure. O God, his family and friends are bowed in grief. They seek light to dispel the dark gloom that threatens to overwhelm them. O God, be gracious to those who mourn, for they are in distress. Bless them with your compassion. Ease their burden of sorrow. Send them light and peace. For it is written, fear not, as I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you, I will sustain you with my power. And let us all say, Amen. A few moments ago, I tore the ribbons that are being worn by Jill, Andy, and Jeff. And when you get a close look, you'll see that these ribbons are not cut all the way across. Cutting is a sense of loss and separation, but the cloth is still connected at the top. Those are the years of memories and connectedness that cloth represents. It's not totally cut, but it is a sense of separation nonetheless. Many of us work together. September 2012, when I officiated at the ceremony for Sandy as well. As I said to them privately at that cutting ceremony, the Kriya, I'm honored but saddened to be back as part of your extended family once again. I made notes. I kept my notes from Sandy's funeral. And one of the notations I made was a statement that Jill had said at the time, that Leonard and Sandy, her parents, were like one person. They had been married 46 years, and he knew her almost 70. I remember he spoke at the ceremony. It was very moving. And now you are performing the same mitzvah, the same commandment, the same task on his behalf. So we do acknowledge Jill, Andy, and Jeff. We also acknowledge his sister Shirley, who's not here physically. She's in Florida, but we acknowledge her presence nonetheless. We also acknowledge his two brothers, Manny and Philip, who predeceased him. But I'm most interested in looking at the future. As I said when I saw the grandchildren when I came in, they all were a lot younger, smaller, less mature the last time I saw them. So it's sad to check in this way, but it's so uplifting to see you. You are the future. You are the ones who will have the opportunities to share your grandparents' stories and memories. And we as a community reach out to Danny, AJ, Jordan, Adam, and Anthony. Did I get all of you? Is this anybody? Okay. I offer on his behalf Psalm 23, an excerpt in Hebrew, and a familiar interpretation in English. Mizmor David, Adonai ro'i lo echzar, v'nodesha yarbitzeni, al mei meluchot yenachaleni. Nach she'eshovev, yancheni v'man letzedek, v'man shalom. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He has me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He guides me on the path of righteousness. He revives my soul for the sake of his glory. Though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod do comfort me. You set the table in sight of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall abide in the house of the Lord forever. At Sandy's funeral, there was a text that I shared, and I've decided to share it once again, as I shared many times with members of my own congregation and my own family as well. This was a text written thousands of years ago by a scholar named Ben Sirach, and I'll read for you in translation as he deals with the realities of life and death, release, and even ultimately relief. And he wrote, in translation, we are all destined to die. We share it with all who ever lived, with all who ever will be. Cry for the dead. Hide not your grief. Do not restrain your mourning. But remember that continuing sorrow is worse than death. When the dead are at rest, let their memory be a source of peace, and be consoled when the soul departs. Death is better than a life of pain, and eternal rest is better than lingering illness. As a drop of water in the sea, as a grain of sand on the shore, are our few days in eternity. The good things in life last for a short time, but a good reputation, a good name, endures forever. From the book of Ecclesiastes, a description of the extreme feelings that are passing through this room. Joy in commemoration of life, sadness at his death. For everything there is a season, a time for every experience under heaven. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to uproot what is planted. A time to tear down, and a time to build up. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to grieve, and a time to dance. A time to throw stones, and a time to gather stones. A time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek, and a time to lose. A time to keep, and a time to discard. A time to tear, and a time to sow. A time to keep silence, and a time to speak. Indeed, it is a time to speak. I welcome Jeff to please come up.
Hi. I'd like to say a few words about my dad. He was, he grew up in a time which was different. He was, he priced up. He grew up during the Great Depression in the early, in the 30s and during World War II. He served in the military and went to school on the GI Bill. He also had time to experience stuff. He was very much an environmentalist, that he worked for the EPA. He later on joined Greenpeace and everything. Andrew, I'm sorry to say that. Because he feared that the water was going to get polluted and everything. Also, he was a kind gentleman. He loved his grandkids. He loved buying toys for them when they were younger. If they remember, whenever they saw Pop-Up, he had toys for them. And he made sure he got toys for you every time he saw. He also liked bowling a lot. He was in a senior league when he was in Philadelphia and was seniors. I remember him complaining once that the best person on his team was 88 years old. He was in his mid-70s, and she was beating him by a lot. Also, he liked watching Westerns, and he loved the Eagles very much. If you know, me and him, every Sunday watched the Eagles game. No matter what happened, we made plans for watching the Eagles games, and people knew not to bother us during that time. Because he knew we wouldn't answer the phone or anything. When the Eagles won the Super Bowl, he was crying. He's also watched the Phillies fan for a while. He was happy when they won the World Series in '08. He was really happy, actually, because he kept telling me how bad they were, how awful they were, which was kind of sad but true, because they went for years where they were horrible, talking about 100 losses and everything. Also, he liked playing poker. He played with his brother, his brother-in-law, his mom, and some friends every week. I'm sure people don't remember that, but he played poker every week. He loved playing it. He still, to this day, plays poker on Wednesdays at his clubhouse. So, he was a big poker fan. He was taught, actually, he's telling me who taught him how to play poker. You wouldn't believe that it was his mom. And she actually taught me how to play poker too. At the time, she was a average poker player, but I remember him and Uncle Phil, his brother, used to play a lot together. One time we were playing, I was playing with them, and my Uncle Phil says, my dad never bluffs. So if he's betting, never stay in the hand with him. But what my uncle didn't know was my dad did bluff. And he was good at it too. Because he would bluff. He had his brother, he would bluff, and his brother thought he would have a good hand all the time because he never thought he'd bluff. That's why he was a good poker player. And he was a very nice man. I loved him very much, and I will miss him. And that's about it, I'm going to say for now.
So Jill shared something else with me about his being an Eagles fan. And what's so unusual is how many times I've officiated at funerals and people have told me the exact same thing. I could write a book. What did he say to Jill? Well, now that the Eagles have won the Super Bowl, I'm paraphrasing, I can die now. And this is a recurring phrase. For those of us who are Philadelphians, we get it. I'm sure your father suffered the 64 Phillies, is what he probably was telling me about. I still show the scars from that year. So I understand and identify with his having been a sports fan and transmitted some of those experiences to you, his family. I'm going to offer a prayer on his behalf. It's in Hebrew. It's called the El Malei Rachamim, God the Compassionate One. Even at these moments of trauma, we still turn to the support of God to carry us through these moments. It'll also be using his Hebrew name. El Malei Rachamim, Shochem B'Amorim, Hamtzei Meluchan Chona, Tachat Kanfei HaShechina. במעלות קדושים טהרין, כזוהר הרקיע מעשירים, את נשמת גולי בן אברהם, שהלך לעולמו, בגן עדן תהא מנוחתו. אנא, בעל הרחמים, הסתירהו בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום משכבו, ונאמר Amen. In translation, O God, exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure, the souls of Leonard Nash, Yehuda Leib, and Abraham, who has gone to his eternal home. Master of mercy, we beseech you, remember all the worthy and righteous deeds that he performed in the land of the living. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. The Lord is his portion. May he rest in the tranquility of peace, of shalom. And let us say, Amen. We now turn to the mourner's Kaddish. Text is known as the sad prayer, but in fact, there's no word of sadness, no word of death. It is another way of exalting God and bringing strength to ourselves at these sad moments. I ask everyone to please stand for this prayer. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba. V'yalman yivrat chirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayei chon v'yomei chon uv'chayei dekol Beit Yisrael ba'agala v'izman kariv imaru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach v'olam omei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadal v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei l'kudusha rehu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata da'amiran mi'alma imaru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael imaru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael imaru. Amen. And one who brings peace unto us and to all the people of Israel, to all humanity, bring peace and success to us all. Please be seated. The family has asked me to announce that any potential donations in his memory will be welcome to the American Cancer Society. Everyone is cordially welcome back to Jill's home following the conclusion now of the ceremony, and the funeral directors have directions for those who might need them.